What's up, guys? Nom here, and today I'm going to be talking about how I got so good at Counter-Strike so quickly. Alright, so basically I've been playing Counter-Strike for about 3 years on the dot now, and some friends were asking if maybe I could make a video explaining how I got so good so quickly. So we'll start from the beginning, and I'll work my way all the way to the current day on how I've done things, what I've done, um, and yeah, we'll just go from there. So, when I first started playing Counter Strike, I started with MM, like everybody does. I started at Silver Elite Master. I was playing on a laptop, and I just played MM basically until I hit about 400 hours and hit MG2. So, like, MG2 and MGE were my goals. And then once I got them, I was like, okay, well, I don't really care about matchmaking anymore because some friends introduced me into ESEA and the major. So I was like, oh, that looks really interesting. I want to try that out. So basically, I just started playing ESEA. I paid for an ESEA account. I played, I don't know, probably another 100 hours before the next season started because the next season was right around the corner. I pugged some, and basically from even when I was playing Silver Elite to this point, every day, whenever I had free time, I was in high school, I was just watching, Counter-Strike videos, how to counter-strafe. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a War Owl video, it doesn't matter if it's a Nade King video, whatever it is, it's going to help you learn more about the game, right? So, I kept playing Counter Strike. I got a very deep understanding of Counter Strike, and on average in game, I was spending about 4 hours a day, whether that be demo watching, whether that be just playing the game. Either way, I was just spending a lot of time on the game, and then I was probably spending equally as much time, if not more, watching the game. So then I got into my first ESEA Open season. I tried to make my own team and was IGL opping. That was a lot to ask for somebody that only had like 500 hours. The first iteration of the team. It went pretty poorly, as you would expect. I picked up people that I thought were mechanically well, and I didn't pick up people that I just wanted as teammates. So that team ended up kind of disbanding when we were down in the season. Then we rebuilt and finished 9-7, almost making playoffs. And all of us were not like absolutely crazy at anything in specific. We just had really good team play. So that's kind of how my first season went. I learned a lot about just teamwork matters more than mechanical skill, especially if people just aren't going to listen to you. So then my second team, I just played. I basically rebuilt the team again because a couple people said they didn't want to play anymore. You'll get that a lot in open. You shouldn't worry about it too much. And basically, I rebuilt the team going into my second season of open. I still kept the core of players, and we ended up playing. I think we made playoffs. And again, I was IGL opping, and it worked really well for me. I was very happy. But the thing I learned was I felt like some of my growth was stunted, and I couldn't figure out where I wasn't like doing things. And then my teammates basically gave me a bunch of crap saying, "Hey, you're only level 1 on Face It. Maybe you should try playing some Face It." And basically in the span of like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I went from level 1 to level 10 because I just never pugged Face It except like one time when I was silver. And I just kept pugging Face It. It was a really good platform for me to learn on. Just you're not going to learn much from teammates and team play, but you're going to learn a lot about clutching, how people are going to react, a lot of the pug plays whenever you're on CT side, and then seeing what the T's do. So I kind of took the time every time I played Face It, didn't care about what my teammates did, and I just kept playing. I developed a lot that way, And of course, like in the meantime, something I do recommend, but not everybody has to do it as much if you pug a lot, is I really suggest sitting and like looking at your weaknesses. And if you think your weakness is your flick aim, you should go and just DM. All right, so I went and I DM'd for a little while, and then after I DM'd, I kind of decided the best course of action for me was to start doing re-aim practice and just like having really good crosshair placement, because that was one of my weaknesses. Is I would kind of aim in the general direction of somebody, but I wouldn't be like perfectly wrapping the wall with my crosshair. And one of my close friends and teammates told me like, "Hey, I think this is your weakness. You should work on it." So, same thing, playing for 4 hours a day at least. At least I would say an hour of it for a while. I was just putting in the time on my weakness, which was just going through like a YPRAC map. ESEA has refrag, or not refrag, but I can't remember their pre-fire practice, what it's called, but you can use that too. And I would just sit there and I would do it and I would do it over and over, and it's still something I do to this day. But I do it in a private server where I'll put bots down where I think people play, or maybe if I watch the other team's demo before a match, I'll go into the server, I'll put the bots down where I see somebody playing, and then I'll just be ready for it, and I'll keep running it until like it's drilled in my head and I'm doing things correctly. So going into, I'm going to kind of skip my IM season because my IM season was a bit of a mess. I didn't really learn too much other than you can't get too attached to teams and teammates. You just gotta accept things. Sometimes you're not always going to be able to play with your friends or people you like, just because they're not going to have the same goals as you. Some, even though you like them, they're not suitable to play with, or they just don't have the same goals. So after I made main, and my first main season, I learned a lot. So if you look at my history, you'll see I played 6 games my first season of main. Then I joined an IM team for 2 games. Then I went to another main team. Basically what had happened was we picked up a new player. The new player didn't like me. He was our IGL, and he basically convinced the team that like I was the problem, and they kicked me. Now, these players I'd been playing with, I'd played with for months at this point, and honestly, I can't even be that mad because in a way I was underperforming, but the IGL was also putting me in roles I never played before and were very weird. So I just kind of learned that you're not always going to be able to appease everybody. That IGL I had, he'll never like me no matter what I do. I don't really know why, but it's cool, it's whatever. And you just gotta learn that you can't always like be friends with everybody, and you can't like force people to like you. You just gotta accept that and not get mad at them and just let it go. Like you can only control so much. So basically, at one point, one of my biggest mistakes was I experienced burnout after on this team I was playing 10 hours a day and trying to keep my spot on this main team that I got kicked off of. And I just wasn't enjoying the game anymore because I was playing so much. I wanted my spot, but at the same time, like, it felt like a struggle. So then I ended up getting kicked. I found an IM team. They needed help from relegation, and I said, hey, I'll join your team unless I find a main team, and then I'm going to go play on the main team. Basically played 2 games with them, did really well, just tried to help them out some, and then found my next main team. And when I played IM, I learned that like you don't have to be like rude to everybody for them to respect you, which I think a lot of people don't understand. Like just because you have better XP or whatever, you don't need to like always hang that over people's heads. As long as you're not trying to force your ideals on other people, it's not that big of a problem. Like you can get along with a lot of people. And some people you just will never be able to get along with, so you always got to keep that in mind too. So I played with my next main team, and I learned that even if you have a lot of really, really good players, and they don't even argue that much, like everybody kind of gets along, you begin to see that people, you have too many overlapping roles and too many people that can't do the roles that need to happen, and you learn that team play is like extremely important, especially at the main level. Like somebody's always going to have to take the hard role that nobody wants to do, and some people are going to have to take the role of like fragger. It's just how it is. You there's no way, and like sometimes you can frag out if you're in the harder role, right? But it's a lot more difficult because you're not really set up as much. So in that main team, I kind of learned like we just didn't have the players that fit the roles we needed. And maybe we did if we did like a different style of calling, but it just wasn't working. And basically, in all this time I had been playing, I had switched from IGL op, I had switched to just rifling and entering, I switched to support. And while I was like every team I was playing on, if I got an opportunity that I saw fit, I didn't care like what role it was. If it's a better team, I was willing to like sacrifice. Personally, I would always want to main op. I still want to main op, but I can't do that because I've got players that are better than me. So it's kind of like pointless for me to sit there and main op if I've got players that are better than me. And I would much rather be on a team where I can just fill my role, do the job that needs to be done, and win, than play on a team that I'm losing on and playing the role I want to play, if that makes sense. And some people will feel differently, and that's okay. Like, if you want to play your role and, like, it's a do or die thing, that's your decision. But I'm just saying, if you want to get as far as possible, as quickly as possible, like I do, or like I did rather, you should try to be as flexible as possible with your roles. On the latest main team I had played, basically learned that I really thought I was top tier, like a really, really good Counter-Strike player, back when I was in main. And then I kind of learned pretty quickly, like, I still got a lot of learning to do, even because I'd only played the game for 2 years, and I thought I was one of the best players in the world. And I just didn't, like, I didn't care though. Like I was like, I can be there. I've already improved this much, and you should always have the mentality of like, I can get better. It doesn't matter how many hours you have, what you're doing. Like, if you face an obstacle, you should just use it as proof that hey, I've gotten to this point. I know I can get even further. Um, Another thing that I faced is when I was in Maine, I was already 19, because I got my laptop when I was 17, and that was like my first PC ever. And a lot of people say like, hey, you're already too old to play the game and like be the high level. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, there are people that go pro when they're 24, 25. Like, it's never too late to play the game, especially if you love it and you can manage it and do it on your own time. So don't ever let that get in your head either. That's something that's really dumb, and I don't understand why people say that. So something I also learned is like, don't sit there and like trash talk people in pugs. Don't trash talk, like, you can have banter, but don't like be hateful, because those could always be your future teammates, or the friends of people that you're trying out for that would be your future teammates. And you're just gonna like shoot yourself in the foot because you got an ego in a pug, and now their friend is going to be like, oh, I don't like that guy, he's really toxic and really rude in pugs, and like, you shouldn't pick him up. That's like a really, really bad look, and that's why, if you know me personally, I always say like, don't type in pugs, like, ever. Like, maybe you can like hit the question mark every once in a while or something, but like, that's all you should do. You should never like sit there and type personal attacks or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the chapter of me kind of stepping it up a level, and like where I found myself improve the most lately. I started demo reviewing with people that I honestly just don't think are as good as me. just at the game. It doesn't have to be mechanically or whatever. I just think they're not necessarily as good as me, but they're friends, or they're people that like I've met and I see potential in them, and I'll sit there and I'll demo review with them. And just because I don't think they're as good as me doesn't mean I can't learn from them. Like, I'll sit there and I'll watch an IM demo of like teams playing, or like I'm watching my friend play, and he's like, "Hey, what could I have done better?" And I see a piece of util, and I'm like, "Oh, that was sick. I never seen that before. Maybe I should implement that in my own game." And meanwhile, like, whenever you talk about scenarios with people, it also ingrains it in your head, like what the best thing to do in each scenario is, because there are like a lot of scenario, like an infinite amount of scenarios that can happen in Counter-Strike, but a lot of them are very similar. So you can learn a lot just by watching other people's demos and like talking about it out loud. And you also get perspective of how other people play and like their thought process. So it's very interesting to demo review with other people, and even like a group of people. It doesn't have to be your teammates. It could just be people you've plugged with. It doesn't matter. Just getting perspective on different things is also always like the best thing to do whenever you're demo reviewing. And if you can demo review with somebody else that, like, obviously not like somebody that's never played Counter-Strike before, but if you demo review with like somebody that's decent at the game and they can have an understanding of the game and just not be as good, or they could be better than you if you're really lucky, you should always do that because you can just get a different point of view. Something else I would always recommend is whenever I wasn't playing on a team or my team wasn't practicing and like my friends' teams, maybe somebody can't play or something, I would just stand in. And the reason I would stand in is it's very, very beneficial to learn from other teams, like how they're playing and like fitting into their system. And now you like have an extra bit of experience that you wouldn't have beforehand, because like maybe your team plays a certain way and this team plays completely different, and maybe you're like, "Oh, I actually really like what they do here. Maybe I can implement it in my team in some way." So that's something else you can do. Always open yourself to all the possibilities. And my final note is like, don't limit yourself to one team, one friend, whatever. As much as it like hurts to say this, I had to give up playing with my friends very, very early on. And a lot of people don't understand that, but like, you're gonna learn that sometimes even your friends, they might be better than you, and they're gonna have to make the same decision where they're like, if I want to go pro, maybe I just need to play now, and you can improve on your own time. And let's say they hit a rut and they're like skill, like their gradual increase of skill, and then you hit a spike, and then you guys are on the same skill, and you guys can play on a team in the future, right? Like, there's always the possibility of playing with somebody again. But a lot of people don't understand that, like, you're going to lose a lot of opportunity if you just don't go for it, right? Like, if you get a good offer from another team and your team's, like, obviously falling apart or something, it's honestly worth it to just go play on that other team for the experience. Like, worst comes to worst, you can just leave later on. And I'm not saying to team hop, I'm just saying, like, you should learn that it's bad to get attached to people, because it never works out, unless like you guys are on the same skill level, you guys trust each other. Like, there are like good reasons to stay together, but I've very, very rarely seen it work out in Counter-Strike. Like, the only people I can think of is like Cold and Taco had played for a long, long time together, but most pros, they didn't really know each other until they got to like Premier or whatever it's gonna be. So don't get too attached. To finish out the video and make it not too long, I would just like to cover the points again. So basically, play the game a lot. Don't like watch the game a lot. Watch useful information. Understand the game. Like, understand why things work. Understand rotations. And like I can sit here and I can go in and I can watch a demo and I can tell you all the minuscule things, but like honestly, if I told you everything you needed to know, I think almost every person would lose a lot of that information, or they just wouldn't be able to understand like what I'm saying. Like they'd understand you need to or you need to understand rotations, but they don't understand like how to get kills off of those rotations or whatever it will be. So you're gonna have to work at your own time, and like you'll have your epiphanies where you just get better and better, and you'll see like new openings in the game, and you'll be able to like read the game a lot better. But you should always just understand that you can get a lot better if you just keep playing the game. I mean, I should be proof of that. I'm not like I'm a good player. I'm mechanically really good, but I also worked every day for 4 hours a day for over 1,000 days. And like, if you sit there and say, "Oh, I don't want to do that," um, like, I don't think this is the path for you, right? Because even if, let's say it's 3 hours a day for 1,000 days, like, would you still be willing to play the game and like seriously play the game for 3 hours a day, not like joke around and like play MM? Like, are you going to sit there and demo review? Are you going to sit there and DM? Are you going to, shoot aimbots? Are you going to practice your sprays? So that's what I would add. Like, if I was you, I'd ask yourself that if you want to get as good as I did in as short of a period of time. And like, if you're going to take shortcuts and like not do it, it's going to take you a lot longer. I've seen it happen to numerous people where like they say they want to get really good, but then they get distracted by outside lifestyle. Um, I'll give you some examples. Like I've seen a lot of people that get addicted to drugs, alcohol, and it really affects them because they want to go party, they want to do whatever they want to do, and it slows their learning process down, right? Because you will see people that are at the top that do that stuff. But the thing is, they've been playing for like 10 years, 12 years. They've been playing since they were a kid. I've been playing this game for 3 years, and I've already gotten pretty close. Like, I'm not saying I'm as good as them, but you can be at the top with them in a much shorter period of time if you're willing to like just put your full focus on it. Because the only outside focuses I have is like work and school, and that should be like all for you. Like, yeah, sure, you can have like sports and stuff. I played sports in high school, but like your main focus should be Counter-Strike if you want to get like if you want to maximize your chances of going to the top. That's what you have to do. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video. I really appreciate if you guys watch this. If you want more content like this, could you leave a comment? Always subs and likes are always appreciated. I'm not really gonna force it on anybody though. I don't really care. Just do it if you really want to do it. And yeah, thank you for watching the video.